Thank you, George. And thank you to all the candidates for mayor and council. The next session is all about questions, or the next, in the last part here. We're changing the format just a little bit in the sense that the Arts Council has put a lot of time and thought into some arts questions. They've posed 2 of them with a little bit of background. They've asked me if I'd read that background and pose the question to the candidates. In the interest of time, we're not going to have all the candidates answer all the questions. There's 2 questions we'll pose both to the mayoral candidates only, and then one of those questions will go through all the candidates. So this will be the only time that you'll all be answering the same question. After that, I promise it won't be so repetitive, or maybe it won't be repetitive anyway. Your answers will all be unique. And we'll only have 2 people answering each question after the arts questions. So I'll start with the question that will just be asked of the mayoral candidates. And the background, and this is a mouthful. I'll give it a try. Bowen Island Municipal Council passed a resolution stating that council designate a parcel of municipal lands in 2006 for a 10,000 square foot community hall and arts center, which may be part of the civic facilities as referred to in resolution number 006-008. The Federal Canada Cultural Spaces Fund could potentially cover significant capital construction and furniture and fixtures and equipment costs for a culture-friendly facility. The top priority for this community has consistently been identified in polls over the past 10 years as a modest assembly and performance space. So that is the background. The question then, and we'll go alphabetically in reverse this time, Murray, I'll let you answer it first, is given that the Municipal Council has designated a parcel of land for a community hall arts center, do you support the inclusion of a multi-purpose hall element suitable for public assembly and performance in the first phase of any future civic facility?
That's pretty easy. Except it's loaded. So the assumption is then that we're going to have a community hall as part of a community center, so presumably the other part is going to be the municipal hall. And we don't know if that's a done deal. I mean, there's some game changer things that are happening here. So I would just like to address the multi-purpose hall not as part of a general center, and to say that we all want it. All the other Gulf Islands have it. Communities of 3,600 people have it. We've been remiss in not doing it. The debate is, how big is it? How much do we spend? The process that we need to gain consensus in the community is to bring together proper costing, proper availability of funds, and then let the stakeholders who are going to be the users of it work back from there to what we can afford and how much fundraising they can do. So it is absolutely a top priority for the community, and anybody that gets on council had better remember it. And we can do this in the next 4 years because we've got the land, and we're going to move forward with proper zoning of the land so that we have the space to do it in.
Great. Thanks, Murray. Tim, would you like the question again, or are you?
No, I think I've got it. I don't think anybody has worked on council, certainly has worked harder in the past 3 years than I have to move the whole community campus, community hall project forward. I don't think anybody else knows the pitfalls in trying to do that. Absolutely, it's something that has to move forward. We're going to move it forward a lot faster if we do the rezoning of Lot 2, because without that rezoning, nothing will happen there. But I do agree, actually, that we do need to relook and reassess what these things are and how we actually pay for them. But absolutely, I'm still as committed as I was in the last election to this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Stacy?
I'm 100% behind the idea of creating a community hall on Lot 2, on the land that we own. I think that in some ways it's kind of embarrassing that we've been here for so many decades and we don't have a single multi-purpose facility, really beyond this. I think that the development of a multi-purpose community facility for us should be directly linked to rezoning of Lot 2. I support the rezoning of Lot 2 because we need to create value in the land in order to be able to sell it to a developer. But I think that I support that, provided the creation of a functional multi-purpose community space is directly linked to that project. I wouldn't want to see us saying, okay, well, we'll let you build your condos or do whatever you want down here, and then here we are standing with an empty piece of land and no community hall. We have incredible talent in design, in architecture, in forestry and everything. I'd like to see a Bowen grown facility. You know, we can take the $1.5 million or the $2 million or whatever we end up with as far as funding goes and do beautiful things with it. You know, we have the skills on the island to make a beautiful functional facility that will be a legacy for the community as a whole. I support the idea of community campus wholly. I think it's a great idea to have these services that we need for children and youth and seniors all located in and around this area here. I think it's the way to go. It's better for transportation. It's better for community use. I think that we should consider moving forward in ways where we can say we start with a multi-purpose community facility, and then maybe some point down the road we figured out how to finance a municipal hall or an art center, and that we can expand on these projects. But I think the first thing that we should do is that multi-purpose facility. I think it's achievable and affordable, and it's been a long time coming for the island.
Thank you very much, Stacy. So the next question, again, going backwards in alphabetical order, I'll start with George, will apply to all the candidates, including the mayoral candidates. And we'll just limit the answers to 1 minute to keep it moving. So if you could think of reflect on this first, and then I'll pose the question. The reflection is regarding funding, and the municipality's Economic Development Committee has identified that one of the things a municipality can do to help spur economic prosperity is to support those businesses and organizations that are succeeding in creating economic benefit and generally doing well in their operations and services. Last year, the Arts Council, through its activities and operations, contributed approximately $240,000 to the local economy through direct payments to artists and other creative entrepreneurs, as well as through purchase of goods and services locally. A typical return on investment in the arts is $12 for every dollar spent, or $2.8 million. The question, given that investment in the arts is proven to generate many times the financial benefit to the community, would you support sustained or even increased core funding for the Bowen Island Arts Council? George?
I support sustained funding for the Arts Council. They've done great things, and there's no reason that we should not continue supporting them. As far as looking into increasing core funding, I really can't answer that. I mean, I need to get a better grasp of our financials and where we are on certain things. But definitely I'm willing to listen and look into it and consider it. I'm also feel that we should add some other things that sort of benefit the Arts Council, benefit tourism, benefit the economic development of the island. And that's just, I'll look at funding for solutions that connect the efforts of everybody and try and, I guess how Stacy describes it, is look at the big picture and see how we can all sort of, instead of working independently of one another, work together to for the betterment of the community as a whole. But as far as art specifically, yeah, I support them, and will do all I can to further support them.
Thank you, George. Peter?
I would support a modest increase in funding for the Arts Council. I'm a big fan of them. But I'd also support a service agreement so that they know how much money is coming and that we commit to funding them at a certain level for a certain time. Then they can plan better and we take out uncertainty for them. One of the reasons I'm in favor of this is because the arts, it's not only, I mean, we speak about the economic benefit of the arts. There are more benefits than that. There are emotional benefits, psychological benefits for people participating in the arts, and also for people who consume the arts, to use that word, which I don't really like. I think that all in all, the arts is the future of Bowen Island. Bowen Island's economy depends on the arts, and we shouldn't underestimate that. I see a future for us, our island, built based on tourism, and arts is part of that. And I'd like to see us support that in every way we can. Of course, another big support for the arts would be the performance space. And that really has to happen soon.
Just 10 seconds.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And Maureen?
I also support sustained funding for BIAC, and I think Peter's comment about a service agreement is really very important and would be something I would support looking at. It gives a kind of certainty in looking forward, and I know from work with nonprofit organizations that waiting year to year to hear if you're going to be funded can be very draining and a little demoralizing at times. I might support increased core funding, but I'd need a little bit more information about that. And then this isn't really an answer to the question, but just a comment. I think it's a little sad that you have to justify the arts and culture in terms of return on investment.
Thank you, Maureen. And Allison?
Just a little bit of background. We have a community grants policy in the municipality, which we struck a community grants committee this past year, and that whole policy has been updated and redone, and it does recognize core funding for what I'll say are the core groups. Certainly I'm supportive of core funding for the continued core funding for the Arts Council and the arts activities. And just for interest for everybody, the Arts Council has received approximately $50,000 a year for several years now. And this past year, an additional $5 has been approved to work on the redo of the Cultural Master Plan.
Thank you, Allison. And Melanie?
I totally support sustained funding for the Arts Council. I think for an island community like ours, it's a vital component. People come to the island expecting to see art galleries, and this is the sort of thing they're looking for. So I think I think the arts really adds a lot to our community. I'm also very excited about the Cove Culture Corner, and I think we're going to see on return on investment when that's up and running. I think we're going to see a better return. So I think it's all part of our community. So yes.
Thank you, Mel. And Michael?
Well, I'd like to say I will absolutely support sustaining this core funding. By way of support to our arts community, which, by the way, is core to Bowen, I would like to enter into a discussion with them on a practical basis on Lot 1 of opening it up to a concept very similar to Whistler's Function Junction. From our discussions on the Economic Development Committee, they lead me to believe that this would be extremely beneficial. I think it's a concept, a practical concept worth pursuing, and I think that is one of the most practical ways I could work with our arts community. Thank you.
And Yvette?
Yes, this idea is a good investment, and it's supportive and it's practical. It's practical because I can see the work that's already been done and that they've communicated in their finances. This kind of support gives stability, and because it's paced out throughout time. And this supports communities, it supports tourism, and I think the details are to be uncovered, but yes.
Thank you, Yvette. And Murray.
I'll be brief. Yeah, the core funding is in place. It'll stay in place. I don't think any of us are going to try to go back and cut or chop things out. As far as new funding, this is hardly the place to be promising it. It would depend on business plan and need and all the other things that go into making those sorts of complex decisions. But we like the Arts Council. I mean, everybody does. They're easy people to like. They do a lot of good work for the island, and they have for a very long time, and they're very basic organization within our community. And so continued support, I don't think, is really going to be an issue. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Tim?
Well, I sat on the Economic Development Committee and on the Community Grants Advisory Committee. Certainly, Economic Development Committee recognizes the value of the arts, not just financially. The Community Grants Advisory Committee was set up to create some stability and objectivity and certainty around core grants, and it was an excellent committee, and we did a lot of work this year, and we have established a core grant level, of which BIAC is one, and certainly that should be sustained. The issue with trying to increase that is that unless you're going to increase revenues coming into core grants, which may mean increasing taxes, the only way to increase core grants is to decrease the other grants. And certainly the committee's idea was that you set core grants, I believe we've set them at 50% of the total.
Just a few seconds.
And then community grants for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
I am a local artist. I support continued funding for arts on the island, but I'd like to see a few things different. I think the art gallery should be down in the Cove. I support a move like that 100%. I think that the existing location is poor in that from where I sit in my gallery down in the Cove, I see the majority of pedestrian tourists don't go past the intersection to the pub. They walk up there, they look up that hill, they say forget it, and they walk around the loop and back by the lagoon, and they have a coffee at the Snug and they leave. Thousands and thousands of them every single summer. And we can't get people up to Artisan Square effectively, so maybe we should have the art gallery in the Cove. I think that that's a good thing. I've been lucky in my time on Bowen to have put up a lot of public art pieces on this island and seen what public art can do to public spaces. One of the things that I think that we don't do enough of for artists on Bowen Island is actually own art. We support art and we create environments where art can happen, but we don't own any art. The majority of the public art that you would call the Bowen Islands public art is actually mine.
Just a few seconds.
I didn't get paid for any of it. You know, I'd like to see something, if we can do these interconnections, the idea of tourism, for example, if we could start investing in art, if we could say, okay, instead of spending $200 or $300 talking about tourism, we're going to buy some sculptures and put them on the trails between here and Mount Gardner and just tell people they're there. Thousands of people will come.
Thank you very much, Stacy. And Marcus?
So can you repeat the question?
Yeah, that sounds good. Oh, you want me to repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. I should have been prepared to do that. Hang on a second. It might take me a moment to actually do it.
Oh,
That's
given
technology.
that the municipal
hang
hall,
on a
I've got
second.
it here, thank you.
Yeah, have you got it? I'll read it again for the benefit of everyone. Given that the investment in arts is proven to generate many times the financial benefit to the community, would you support sustained or even increased core funding for the Bowen Island Arts Council?
Thank you. So, arts, I think of culture in the community. And where I'm from, culture has completely brought up a community's life. And I think it's really important that culture be an essential part of a community. Now, funding is, aside from that, funding is something that I think is fine, but I think it's most important that we fund the community before we fund something like culture. Now, I don't know a whole lot about this, and I don't have strong feelings about this, and I'm willing to put a poll on my website that asks you, what do you think of funding the arts? Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. And Sue Ellen.
Well, when we first came to Bowen, music was something that swept us away immediately. We were part of a music group. Instantly, it was like instant community, such a pleasure. Music is one of those, the arts community on Bowen, and our culture is something people get really engaged in and involved with, like the engagement and participation you see here today. It's part of our community. Yes, I'd sustain the Arts Council funding, and I'd be open to discussing what possibilities there would be for increasing it. I like the idea of bringing arts facilities down into the cove in some area. I'd like to look at that more carefully. I'd need more information. And I think it also adds to that visitor experience that contributes to the economy. Like Murray said once, we're a charismatic ex-herb, and we need to keep the special character that we've got, and the arts is part of that.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. And Michael Chapman.
Yes, I support the core funding for the Arts Council, and I also support the inclusion of in our community hall, which will be a gathering place, a practice place, a place to play, a place to perform, and a place to display our culture and our art. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And Gary.
The arts community on Bowen is part of the Bowen fabric. It's part of the mosaic that makes Bowen so important and makes our standard of living here so great. The visual arts, all the musicians we have, Stacy's beautiful sculptures. That's all part of who we are and defines what life is like on Bowen Island. Yes, we should sustain the funding. There's absolutely no question. BIAC is a very important component, and the arts community is a very important component of the municipal funding regime, as it were. There's only 2 core grants that are out, and BIAC is one of them. Shows the importance of it. We also have the Cultural Master Plan, which is deeply entrenched into our OCP, which shows the way forward, and that's just having a redo right now. But yes, an extremely important part of our environment. Fiscally, yes. Would I love to increase the funding? Yes. But do we have the money at the present time? Not really. It would have to be at the cost of something else, and there are limited funds. But we support the arts community as much as we possibly can at this point. Thank you.